Hi everyone and welcome to another tutorial here on the Daniel Life. That is the brand new DJI 360. DJI's first 360-degree camera. In this tutorial I will show you how to take a 360-degree video, how to take a panoramic photo, how to transfer all these files onto your phone, how to connect this camera actually to your phone, how to remote control this camera. I will show you tons of example footage here in this tutorial, and at the end of this tutorial, if you do have any open questions, please make sure to leave a comment below. I try to answer them as soon as I can. If you would actively support my channel, you can get the camera, the memory card or the power bank I used using the link provided in the video description. Now let's get started. So the first time you start this camera, you will see a screen which says please make sure to connect it to the DJI Mimo app to register the camera. You can use the camera approximately 5 times until you have to register the camera. And to be honest, if you don't want to use your phone, or if you just want to use the camera without your phone, just take a different phone from your neighbor, from your girlfriend, whatsoever, from your children, register the camera, do the firmware update, and then you don't need to use the camera with your phone anymore if you don't want to do that, because I read a lot of comments and they say, oh, but I don't want to use the camera with my phone. You don't have to, it's just to register the camera for the first time. Do the firmware update so you have the latest version with new features maybe here on this camera, and then you can put your phone away. However, I can still recommend to use it with your phone because it allows you to do everything what you can do here on the camera with your phone remotely. So let's speak about the camera very quick. You have one lens on this side, one lens on the other side. So just to make sure you have a 360-degree footage that comes out of this camera. You have one button right here, one button right here. What each of these buttons do, I will show you in this video. This button here will start to record a video or stop to record a video. With the same button you can start to record a time-lapse, a hyperlapse, or take a picture. If you push this button here on this side, the camera will turn on and off. You have a small compartment. If you open up this compartment, you can charge the camera via USB-C. A cable was included, a power adapter was not included. Doesn't matter, I can recommend this great looking power bank which delivers 165 watts total, and it has 2 USB-C cables included. That means you can quickly charge up this camera so as your phone or work on your notebook at the same time. You get 2 additional ports, one USB-C which also delivers 100 watts and a USB-A port to charge, for instance, your phone or your tablet at a lower speed. Absolutely recommended, link in the video description. It's available in 2 different colors. Make sure to close this compartment properly, otherwise the camera is not waterproof. You got a small LED right here, and you got a different compartment here on the other side. If I open up this compartment, as you can see, down here is the battery. To take out the battery, just firmly pull here on this latch. And then there is the port for the micro SD card. Make sure to get a fast memory card, otherwise the buffering takes forever. And to avoid that, I have used this one here so far from Angelbird. It's a V60 card with 256 gigabytes. I will also put an alternative version as a link in the video description. So the colored side faces inwards, and it has to make click so you know that the card is stored properly. Then we put in the battery again. Then we close this compartment here and make sure you don't see any colors, otherwise the camera is not waterproof. So let's turn on the camera. I push this button here and there you go. It was even less than a second. To turn off the camera, just push it again for about a second and then the camera shuts down. That's the DJI 360 here on a tripod set at my desk. At the moment we are in video mode, in a 360-degree video mode by the way, and with the current settings 8K 25 frames per second ultra wide, we can record for another 41 minutes and 33 seconds. Here's the battery indication, and if we use these sliders we have access to the manual exposure, white balance, anti-motion blur. We can set a different color. For instance, if you do color grading in post, you can set it right here. And there's also a color recovery, which you can set to on or off. So as you can see, if you set this to off, the profile looks flat. And if you set this to on, it recovers the colors. So 10-bit for me at the moment is fine. And you can do some adjustments here also to the audio once you have connected an external microphone. To start a video, pretty simple, push on this button right here and the camera is taking now a 360-degree video. So it really doesn't matter what you're doing in front of the camera captures that anyways. If you push on this button here, you can change between those two lenses, which has no effect on the entire video since we're now recording in a 360-degree space. So to stop this video, push this button here again. So if I swipe from the bottom to the top, I can change the resolution. 4K maximum 100 frames per second, 6K maximum 60 frames per second, or 8K with maximum 50 frames per second. If you just want to record a video while you walk through your garden or you want to explain something in front of the camera, 24, 25 or 30 frames per second are absolutely sufficient. Make sure not to combine these frame rates later on for your project. So don't record one video with 25 frames per second and the other one with 30 frames per second, because it will mix up your video and your mouth will look strange. Don't do that. Stay in the frames you set at the beginning. So to change the field of view, I can go to standard, and as you can see, all the lines are now straight. Then there's this wide angle and this ultra wide angle. And if I just want to record a video, 8K 25 is fine, and we are now recording in a 360-degree space. If I use a different resolution, as you can see, the remaining capacity goes up to 53 minutes and 57 seconds. If I push this button right here, as you can see, I change between different lenses. So here's a microphone test, DJI 360, using the Singe Lens mode, 5K 25, wind is calm, and that is the internal microphone. DJI 360 now paired with my DJI Mic 2 here in the city center of Cologne, Western Germany, recording myself in 5K 25 here on the DJI 360. Here's the low light mode of the DJI 360, filming myself in 8K 25 here in the church in Cologne. And hope it looks good on my screen. It does. So let's check out some more details here. So here's the SuperNight Mode, filming myself with the DJI 360 in a church, 8K 25, and that's how it looks like. On the screen, it looks fantastic. If I type on this icon right here, I can jump into the panoramic photo, and if I swipe from the bottom to the top, you can see that we could take a panoramic photo with 120 megapixels. I can recommend always to take a timer when you take a panoramic photo, because you can use an extension rod, for instance, or an invisible selfie stick just to be on that same frame, and then you have some time to go to the right spot before the camera takes a picture of you. We can go to 30 megapixels as well, and then we have also an HDR function, high dynamic range. So let's say we want to take a picture, 120 megapixels, 5 seconds timer. I push on this button right here, the timer runs down. And yeah, there's our 120 megapixel photo, and as you can see, it's still buffering. That's why I said get a fast memory card. We have the same settings here as in video mode, exposure and white balance. And if I would like to see what we've recorded, I simply push on this icon right here, and there's our 120 megapixel panoramic photo. I can highlight this photo by typing here on this heart. if I go on this icon, I can see all the files that I took already. Let's say I don't need these two. I can mark them. Let's say I don't need these two either. And then I can delete those 4 files at the same time. Then there is a SuperNight Mode, which is basically a low light video, where you're restricted to 8K, maximum 30 frames per second. 6K is the same, so you don't get any 50 or 60 or 100 frames per second in order to get the best result. So imagine you're recording yourself, low light situations, 8K, 25 frames per second. The camera has to use a shutter speed of a 50th of a second. So always the double that you see here. If I would like to take a video in 8K 30 frames per second, the camera has to take a shutter speed of a 60th of a second. If I would take a video now during low light with, let's say, 100 frames per second, I have to use a shutter speed of a 200th of a second. So the camera cannot expose correctly during low light situations, or the footage gets really grainy. That's why the camera restricts you to these certain frames per second. But the result, to be honest, looks quite impressive. You can change also the field of view up here. Then there's selfie mode. What you have to do in selfie mode is get the invisible selfie stick and hold it in a 90-degree angle towards you, and then the camera is recording a video of yourself while you're walking, for instance. You're restricted to a resolution of 4K with up to 60 frames per second. And that's how the footage looks like. In 2K, you can even take a video with 240 frames per second. But make sure to do that during daylight. Then there's a Vortex mode. I don't have that kind of gear that you need in order to take that Vortex shot. However, you can buy that separately, and how it looks like is shown here at the moment. Maximum resolution 6K, 120 frames per second, or 4K with up to 240 frames per second. Then you have the Timelapse and Hyperlapse mode, one of the most favorite features here on this camera that I like to use the most. So if you type up here, you can change the resolution. It's fixed to 8K with maximum 25 or 30 frames per second. So there's no option for 50 or 60 frames per second. Here you can change the field of view. And let's start with Hyperlapse. Hyperlapse, pretty simple. The camera takes a video and accelerates that. So let's say you want to skip your walk through the park, but you still want to capture the walk through the park. I would take that video as a hyperlapse in 5x. Then press the trigger button. The camera starts to record now a video. And as you can see, after 5 seconds, we get 1 second of video footage. In between, you cannot pause the video. And if you want to stop that video, push the trigger button once again. So there's no audio and the camera is just accelerating that video. Then you got time lapse. Maximum resolution here also 8K. And if you swipe from the bottom to the top again, you see the interval. The minimum interval is 1 second and the maximum interval is actually 1 hour. That means if we record a video now in 8K, 25 frames per second, the camera has to run for 25 hours in order to get 1 second of a time-lapse video. Okay, therefore you have to use a power bank. If you want to capture some moving clouds, I would go for an interval of, let's say, 5 or 10 seconds. And I can recommend to take the duration to infinity because you can stop the time-lapse always in between. If you don't want to continue the time-lapse, no worries, just press this button here. But let's say you just missed the sunset because you set the duration to 20 minutes and the sun is not set yet, then it's quite sad because you haven't left it to infinity. So make sure to stay in infinity. If you do something that happens really quick, take a short interval. If you do something that takes a lot of time, take a long interval. Keep in mind there's a battery inside, and if you want to have the camera running for a longer time, make sure to connect it, for instance, to a power bank. You get some presets right here. So clouds, it recommends 2 seconds. There's a sunset, it recommends 1 hour with an interval of 3 seconds. And as I said, swipe up to get more parameters. And as always, you have full control over the exposure and the white balance. Then we jump to the Singe Lens mode. We start with photo. And as you can see, if I swipe from the bottom to the top, the maximum resolution here 30 megapixels, and it goes down to 12 megapixels. So let's say I want to just capture a picture, 30 megapixels. I want to be also on that picture. I change around the lens. So it starts to count down from 5 seconds, and I'll be on that photo. Hello, hello. That's it. So if you just want to take a photo of your family and yourself, just place the camera somewhere, start a timer of 5 seconds, and you're ready to shoot. Then there is the video mode, and now we're recording in a 2-dimensional space. So this is not the 360-degree space. We can change the camera direction. So that's the other side, and that's me. Sorry, that's me. I have also here full control over the exposure, white balance, and I can also film in a log profile, or I can set the anti-motion blur, which looks kind of nice, to be honest. You should try out this feature yourself. If I swipe from the bottom to the top, maximum resolution 5K in a 4:3 format or 16:9 with up to 60 frames per second. The more action you have, let's say you're skiing or surfing, the more frames per second I would use. The less action you have, the lower frames per second I would use. So if I just want to explain something in front of the camera, I would probably use like 25 or 30 frames per second. But as I said, don't mix frame rates with each other. I can go down to 2.7K, 16:9, also with 60 frames per second. If you would ask me the question, hey Daniel, which kind of resolution would you use just to take a normal YouTube video? It would be probably 4K, and if you live in Europe, it's 25, and if you live in the States, for instance, it would be 30 frames per second. Then you got the image stabilizer, which you can set to off. Then you say, and if you want to crop something, I would probably go to 5K. So then you got the image stabilizer, which is off at the moment. I can use rock steady, and then you can see the camera crops in a little bit. You can see that here on the edge of the image. And then you can change the recording field of view. So that's standard, wide, or ultra wide, and that's kind of a fisheye look. So I would probably keep it to standard with the stabilizer on. Then there's a different feature. If you type on this camera icon right here, we are now in normal video mode, and there's also a pre-recording function which is now set to 5 seconds. So if I close it, the camera starts to record now already 5 seconds. And if I push the trigger button right now, the last 5 seconds were already recorded. But it takes more from your battery. Keep that in mind. So I can stop that video now. The camera is now capturing also 5 seconds as shown here with this icon. And if you want to stop that pre-recording function, push on this icon right here. It's a really good feature. If you have a lot of action going on and you're about to miss something, or you're worried that you could potentially miss a shot, for instance, that's when you have to use the pre-recording function. Then there's also a loop recording function, maximum here 1 hour, 5 minutes or 20 minutes. That's a good feature if you do skateboarding, for instance, and you don't want to have footage with like 40 minutes or something, and at 38 minutes the stunt was all right. So then you can limit the recording length to always 5 minutes, for instance. If I swipe from the top to the bottom, you can see there's the menu. We have 2 pages here. And let's say when you go skiing, for instance, you want to record in that boost mode in 4K with, let's say, 60 frames per second. you can save that as a preset by tapping here on this icon right here. And let's say you wear gloves or your hands are wet, so it's kind of hard to tap here on this screen. You have quick access to those presets by tapping really short on the power button. So you can jump between two modes. If you want to see the mode that you just saved, you have to save it here as a preset, and then you can see that also right here. Then you go to your quick switch, which is this one here. And then you can also say, hey, I want to see my presets that I created. Let's say you are cycling and you do that always in a 360-degree video. You can set, for instance, 8K. I want to record that with 50 frames per second. And then you have always quick access to your presets by tapping here on that quick switch. If you have connected an external microphone like the DJI Mic Mini or DJI Mic 2, you can set those here. You can even set the recording levels here. We have a rotation lock. You can lock the screen. Then we got gesture control, which is now enabled. And as you do what this small guy is doing here, so raise your hands, then the camera will take either a picture of you or starts to record a video or stops that video if you do that again. So if you raise your hand, like shown here, the camera starts to record a video of yourself, and if you do that again, the camera stops to record a video of yourself. Then we got voice control, we got a grid. You can connect this camera also to your AirPods. You can go down with the brightness of your screen in order to save some battery. And the cool thing is we get now an internal memory. So if you ever forget your micro SD, you have more than 100 gigabytes of internal storage, which is fantastic. I like that, really well done. And there's also the micro SD card in here. And if you type on the internal storage, you can format the internal storage or the SD card, but keep in mind to back up your files. Then you hear always these kind of signal tones. They might disturb you, so you can set it even too high. If they are not loud enough for you, you can set to low or mute them if you want to. Another feature I would like to show you, which is kind of handy, is the timer shooting. So let's say you're a DJ and you're setting up your camera for your big event tonight, but you don't have the time to set it up while you're on stage. Then you can tell the camera at 1 o'clock tonight, I would like you to take a video of myself for 1 hour. Please do that in a panoramic video, so 360 degrees, and repeat that only once, just tonight. Then you can set up your camera, you can go eat something, you can go drink something, and at 1 o'clock, when you have your big gig, the camera will turn on automatically, starts to record a video in 8K 360 degrees for 1 hour. And you don't have to worry about setting up the camera later on when this feature is enabled. If you're connecting your phone to this camera the first time, make sure to turn on Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. The camera is creating its own Wi-Fi network. There's no costs involved in the connection between those two devices. Then make sure to download the free DJI Mimo app, which looks like this at the moment in August 2025. It may look different in the future, we will see. Then type on this app, and if you want to connect the camera for the first time, make sure to turn on the camera before going onto the app. So you get a pop-up here which says camera has been found. Then you press on pair. Bluetooth is required to find the camera, and for data transferring you need Wi-Fi. That's the DJI Mimo app itself. We are now in the playback menu. If I, for instance, don't like to have these two files here anymore, I can mark them, download them onto my phone, or delete them from the internal storage or the micro SD card of this camera. Then we have the editor down here. If you're not familiar with video editing, there are tons of presets. for Instagram stories, for YouTube videos and so on, just in this app right here. So you can start a new project, you can add titles to your videos, you can export them in a 9:16, 16:9 format, whatever you want. It's all down here in this app. If I type here on this camera icon, as you can see, we're now in video mode. We can change the resolution and the frame rate up here. We have control over our exposure right here. So if you need a fixed shutter speed or a fixed ISO value, you have to press on this manual icon right here. And to start a video, I push on this button, and as you can see, since we're recording in a 360-degree space, I can move around like I want to. You have also an audio meter. Then we got a photo mode right here. As you can see, the menu changes slightly. Up here we can change obviously the resolution of the photo. You can choose between 30 and 120 megapixels. We can set a timer, say 2 seconds, and then the camera takes a panoramic photo in a 360-degree space. Then it's saving, and as I said, the faster the memory card, the quicker this happens. Then we got the SuperNight Mode, and if I jump to the Timelapse mode, you can see this menu here changes slightly, so the resolution is fixed. You can choose between 20 and 30 frames per second. You can set a manual exposure, and if you want to change the white balance, you can do that right here. It says white balance. You can also use grid lines for your phone. You can turn them off, or you turn them on also into the diagonal way. And if you need a histogram, that can be found here. If I don't need the histogram anymore, I X that away. Up here, this menu has changed, so you can set a duration of the time lapse, let's say 20 minutes with an interval of 1 second. And if we take these settings right now, so recording for 20 minutes, we would get a time lapse of 48 seconds. Now it changes to 24. If I go to 4 seconds, it changes to 12 seconds of a final time-lapse video. If I would like to record myself in a single lens mode, type on this icon right here, and now we're in a 2-dimensional space. So that's not the 360-degree space anymore, that's only 2-dimensional. That's the boost video. As you can see here, it's like super wide angle. I can change between those two lenses. And if I want to record a video, that's quite simple. Push on the recording button and I can change between those two lenses back and forth. I can press stop, no pause function yet. And as you can see, the maximum resolution here, 4K with up to 120 frames per second. If I jump into the video mode, I found out something. So if I would like to record myself in 4K, I can even jump between those two modes, two lenses. But if I record myself, let's say in 5K with 25 frames per second, I can not change the direction of the lens. So if we're in single lens mode, there's also the photo mode. Obviously, I can set a timer right here, let's say 5 seconds. And the maximum resolution 30 megapixels. Let's take a picture. There you go. And if you don't need the timer anymore, type on this icon right here and take it off. That's it. And if you want to save these kind of settings that we just used here, you can press on this little icon right here. Let's say you always want to take your photos with a resolution of 20 megapixels. You want to have always fixed shutter speed of 100 of a second and ISO 200. You can save that now as a preset by using the small icon right here. If I type here on the small icon right here, there are all the clips and photos I took already, and if I would like to transfer these to my phone, I can mark them and download them onto my phone. As you can see here, you can see the progress. compartments quite quick. So everyone, that was my tutorial about DJI 360. If you have any open questions, please make sure to leave a comment below. Thank you very much for your undivided attention. And as always, if you would like to support my channel, thumbs up, subscribe, and if you would like to get the camera, the memory card, or the power bank I used to record this footage, link in the video description. See you next time here on the DJI Life.